Hey yo, what up guys, it's QB from the TopDeckScrubs here to bring you another OP04 leader deck profile slash testing and gameplay. Um, First off, I want to give a shout out to the TopDeckScrubs. Please go check them out if you are into any type of Yu-Gi-Oh content. He helped me with this list particularly. We kind of sat down, looked at one of the lists that did well over the OCG, I kind of just made some tweaks from there. And this is what I kind of wanted to test a couple new cards that they weren't playing over there to see if there could be any difference. And so far, Lee's been testing alright. I mean, like I said, we're kind of going through OP04 right now. We started with yugioh, started with Vivi. Go check those videos out. But we're kind of now on to Crocodile. These would kind of be some of the lower tier leaders at this point coming into this set. I think this leader particularly is more of a control leader at the end of the day. Basically, what it wants to do is get into his top end, and a lot of its advantages come from having these big monsters, kind of like Queen, a little bit kind of like Queen, just in a different color state, but having these cards that kind of minus down on your opponent's turn in order to give you an extra mana, help you get more combo power at the end of the day. And then also just with your big minions, you start to like take control of the board with Yamato and Katakuri, and then you just have minions that can come out of life, such as Nico Robin, Miss Valentine, and Asanji, which are kind of the cards that like help you apply pressure a little bit in some matchups. And then I kind of wanted to throw a little spice into it. I wanted to go ahead and test out Kamazo the Manslayer for its effect as well to see how it kind of synergizes with the leader. And just because its effect is on KO effect, usually those happen on your opponent's turn, so now you have a card that can kind of slow the game down by being a popper. It's a little bit stickier because your opponent doesn't actually want to deal with it outside of like spinning it back to the deck. So kind of something I wanted to test out going into this one. But first off, I'm going to just go through the deck list with y'all. So first off, we have Crocodile. What he does is on your opponent's turn, once return, if you return a Dawn from your field to the Dawn deck through one of your effects, add one Dawn from your deck as active. This is mandatory, you can never miss it. Basically, it's kind of more of a defensive leader, so like things that happen on your opponent's turn, like Blast Breath, the Crocodile, which we'll go over, the Nico Robin, Miss Valentine, things that happen over live, a lot of those type of cards helps you gain advantage off your life or countering out, and still being able to stay at the same Dawn value essentially. So going through the list, like I said, we're gonna go ahead and start with Kamazo the Manslayer. Then this is kind of one of the cards I talked about. I think I had a friend mention it to me at some point, talking about how this card could be effective inside the Crocodile deck, and because on KO, Dawn -1, KO to one of your opponent's characters costs 5 or less. Cards like this are pretty sticky, which is good in this type of deck because you want to try and like slowly but surely take control of the board in most matchups. So this card is pretty good at just staying on the board and just chipping 5s for the most part. And when your opponent does decide to kill at that point, you can just add a card on the board, which is for free. And this kind of handles like a lot of the smaller minions, while Yamato and Katakuri kind of handle a lot of the top end, handle some of the bigger minions that come out. So far it's been testing really well. I would just want to keep trying it at the end of the day. A new card coming out in OP04 Crocodile. This is the top end for the deck essentially, outside of Yamato and Katakuri. Basically what it does is, on play, Dawn -2, as long as your leader's broke works, give yourself an extra life. So already, you basically essentially draws you a card. It's 8/9, no counter power, but draws you a card, and then on your opponent's turn, helps you filter your hand. And this kind of powerful. As you look through the deck list, you'll see that like I think I'm playing close to 16 non-counterable cards. That's kind of a lot. So you kind of want to filter these cards out, get to your counter once this card is on the board, and try and protect yourself in that way. Also, I think what's really good about this leader, in a sense, when in combination with these type of cards, is the fact that this card lets you kind of like tap out in a sense. You can tap out your life because you know that if your opponent swings on you, they have to either out this card before they swing, which costs mana to do, so it doesn't like the odds of you dying if they have to out it beforehand is like pretty unlikely actually. And then, but if they don't out it and they swing, then you can just reestablish some mana so that your Blast Breath or your Knockabar arrows are back to being alive. Miss All Sunday, based on play, give yourself a rested Dawn, and if you have 6 more Dawn at that point in time, draw a card. And then choose a trigger effect that you Dawn -2 to play yourself. Card's pretty strong, mana ramp. It's like your turn 3 play it most of the time because it's This on odds gets you to Crocodile or Kakuri on turn 4, which is really broken. And then off life, it's the 5/5 body. Miss Valentine, she's the Baroque folks top 5 look at. She can get herself, so that would bring us up to, I believe, 20 Baroque Works cards. Just give a hint about how I like to deck build. If I do, say for example, how I started was I wanted to play the 4 Crocodile forward Miss on Sunday. I want consistency, so you put in Miss Valentine's, and then Miss Valentine needs to have a 2K counter that she can search as well to give her more value, so then you have your 2K counter. And then typically, if the card can't search herself, I like to put in one more set of cards, so I will get to them in a second. But this one can search herself, but I think having another set that kind of like fills in, that kind of meshes well with the deck, I think is really powerful. But that's what she does. She also trigger that Dawn -1 play for free. So basically, she's free. Like the Dawn -1 is there. Sometimes it comes up, but sometimes it comes up to where like you actually lose a Dawn, but usually it's just a free card, a free minion. Mr. 4, Dawn -1, he can turn himself into a blocker and then give himself 1,000 battle for this battle. It's kind of pretty broken actually in this deck. It's strong in the fact that like it can be rested and you don't have to block with it. So like it can be a swinger on your turn, and then on their turn, if they try and trade into it, you're just like, okay, Dawn -1, make him 7K. Now he's easier to protect. He gets hit free because your leader gives it back to you anyway. So it's one of the stronger cards from the Baroque Works. And then you have your 2K counter, which is Mr. 13 and Miss Friday, and that kind of rounds out a lot of the Baroque Works cards. In all, I think these cards are okay. They're not like the greatest thing coming out of OP04, but they're solid in what they do. You kind of wish that they had cards that didn't depend on your opponent attacking, and had more removal of their own. And I think it'd probably be a better engine in general. But I mean, it works. They're big, so you kind of gain advantage in that way. Another card that Dawn -1 your opponent's turn, Uta. We already know how she looks in the film Dofi deck, but kind of want to try her out in this deck as well. Some other lists play Black Maria instead. I kind of wanted to play this just because I want to be able to tap my opponent's cards. Sometimes you can sneak in game when you have this, but also being able to tap your opponent's cards lets you kind of trade into the board a little bit more favorably, trying to do it with 2 minions at once if possible sometimes. But I've been playing her a couple times. I think I played like 3 or 4 games so far, but we'll probably run some more games after this deck profile. But she's been testing alright. But like I said, she could be Black Maria from set 1 if you want to test that card out instead. Kakuri. So Yellow Engine in general is supposed to just like the best yellow cards that's the best standalone yellow cards basically. So you have 4 Kakuri, 4 Capone, 4 Sanji, and 4 Yamato. There's not really a lot to say about them. Like these are just, outside of this being like a big mom, Yamato being a big mom, these are pretty much the best yellow cards in the game going into OP04 in my opinion. Capone, if you don't know what he does, 2K counter, off life, trigger is send it to the grave basically, and you can freeze one of your opponent's monsters from attacking. Sanji, he's just out of life blocker by fetching a card. And these are all OP04, and the Yamato is on play, KO up to one of your opponent's characters that is equal to or less than the life that y'all have total. And if you're at 1, he gives you a life. It's pretty strong. I think as a top end, not really a lot more you can ask for. So that means that you have 2 ways of getting life when you get to the end game. Kind of means you can take life a little bit more. Sometimes you can take life like more aggressively early, because you know that like once you start taking the board away, the Yamatos and the Crocodiles are going to start giving you life back. Sometimes your Katakuri can give you more life, so you have the ability to extend the game more. So the card's pretty strong. It's been testing really well as well. Again, no counter, 9/9. Card's really good against blue, because blue kind of sometimes struggles. If they don't have Red Rock, then they kind of may have problems out in this card, because they can't just, there's not really outs outside of Red Rock in the blue deck and swinging over it. So as far as I know, so card's pretty strong. So for the internet package, I think where me and my buddy Eric started at, we started with 4 Blast Breath and 3 Nekbar Arrow. I wanted to try Hell's Judgment. I think there's cheeky things that you can do and set up for your opponent that if they're not making the correct read on your events, then they can kind of play into them. And I think Hell's Judgment is one of those. So some of the things that when I've been playing, some things I like to do is I'll leave up 1 mana to bluff the or to show the Blast Breath and the Nakabura Arrow, and say I have either Crocodile or Mr. 4. When they swing, I'll go Crocodile effect, draw a card, discard a card, go up to 2, and then now you have Hell's Judgment to shrink 2 things. And I think the fact that this is for the whole turn is really important in this meta, because cards like this with the when you have the Luffy running around are really powerful, because if they last the whole turn, then the Luffy can't just you don't have to re-combo to beat the Luffy the second time sometimes, because you already have it down 3,000. So basically, if they restand with the Luffy, they lost 6,000. So it gets double value in those situations. Blast Breath, card strong. My -1, so it's basically free in this deck. No reason not to play it. And then if you have this in combination with Nakabura Arrow, basically you restand your life, and then now you have Nakabura Arrow, which is still broken because you're a yellow leader. And if in life you just need cards to like keep the game lasting a little bit longer. Matchups so far, in theory, it probably I would say that this deck probably struggles versus red more than anything else. I think that you have the big minions to kind of deal with Whitebeard possibly, but you don't have the removal, so sometimes they have the ability to get wide, then you're just gonna kind of get beat down at the end of the day. But we're just gonna kind of test it. I mean, I just want to see how the matchups are. We'll just see how they go. Haven't really tested it versus anything so far. I've only played against I think so far I've played against just Blurple Kaido and another deck, but hopefully we can see what we can get. We just want to see how the deck works, how it functions. To be honest, this is probably one of the harder decks for us to build, and out the gate we get, oh, never mind. That's happened a lot too. I feel like, I guess a lot of people don't want to play against this deck. It's probably kind of annoying, because like the game, your whole concept is making the game last longer. So we'll just try and get a game, see how it goes. Will he join a 3rd time? So, but yeah, I think the leader is like fairly okay, isn't the best thing ever. We'll go ahead and play against Garp. We'll go ahead and go second. Garp tends to want to go first more than not. I don't really like this hand, only I like this hand, it's okay, but like I'd prefer to have a turn 4 play, which we have a lot of in the deck. So just kind of want to see, depending how this game goes, we'll try and get another one in. Go ahead and take this card, Mr. 4. But yeah. So yeah. I think we haven't had really a lot of time to like think about this list as much at all. I guess one of the things that going into the new set, when you're talking about some of the, I guess you can quantify them as the bottom tier leaders, such as Crocodile, Vivi, Yugioh, is like those leaders, kind of like, in my opinion, how Garp was in set 2. There is probably a polarizing matchup that they just take advantage of, and sometimes leaders like that can sneak tops if that leader that they can take advantage of is the far majority. And then if you can kind of play everything else even, because people don't know what your deck's really trying to do, then you can really take advantage of that. We're gonna go ahead and try and get Kamazo down right now, since if it gets outed, they're black, so if it gets outed by like Sakazuki or any of the poppers, then we still get value to like get rid of anything like Tasha Tashigi or Chopper. We're gonna try to be kind of aggressive. We don't have top end right now, which is kind of unfortunate. So we'll see how we can navigate this. He's playing 2 Garps. The only thing that's bad about that for us is he currently has, with Tashigi, he's able to like both our cards. I'll go ahead and take this. I don't think I really have an option. Kind of looking for some top end, so we may, oh, there's top end. Okay. So this card is fine. It's going to trade with 2 minions, so even if it's the first thing to get popped. The question is, what do we want to play with it? We'll go ahead and just attack first, though. think the thing with the Garp deck sometimes is it doesn't have enough counter power to like keep up. The only other problem is that I'm trying to think that like next turn he's going to 7. 7 usually means like if he played these, then I think his hands like doesn't have the top end as well. So he's probably wants to go like 2-2, swing 5, pop, or swing 5 into this, pop this, you know. So I'm kind of trying to think because he can clear both, but he has 7, so it's 2, 4. I think if I play, I think I'm gonna go and play Robin after I swing for 6. Yeah, I kind of want to get to a point where like when I play the Crocodile, I kind of want to get to a point that like when I play this Crocodile right here on the next follow-up, that the Crocodile, he'll have to expend his whole turn to out it essentially. Like he'll have to put 8 Dawn, which is just 4/4, but we should be able to take care of like all the board at that point. Because right now he shouldn't be able to, if I did my math right, which could be wrong, just, well, actually no, 2, 4, so depending on how he does it, he can go 2 on here, shrink this down by 2, 2 on here, shrink this down by 1, shrink this down by 1, 2, doom, then put 3, and he should be able to do all of them. Kind of a pain, but like I said, this is kind of like why I want to test this card, because it's sticky. Like he doesn't really want to get rid of this card, so now this card just to be able to apply pressure most of the game. I think looks like we're getting rushed down a little bit. Like I said, we might have to take a turn if he leaves stuff to like clear things up, clear up the Garps, so that the Sakazuki's not too much of a pain. But we'll see. Actually, he can't. He can clear one thing, which will probably be the Missile Sunday if he wants. Yeah, so now he wants to clear the Missile Sunday, but now we can clear, it's probably more important to clear clear Tashigi. That's the only thing I do wish the deck had more of. Like I feel like right now we don't have a lot of, oh he's not even, he didn't do that right. He shrunk it, but he didn't put Dawn on these, so. But also if he kills this, then we just get rid of Kuzan. We're gonna have to play this turn. We can kind of get wider. I will go ahead and let this die. I want to get rid of this Kuzan. And then we'll see what happens. So we have a Dawn to work with. I don't really care if he pays the extra 2k. I just rather get the 2k out of his hand if he does have it. And we might go wide. I kind of want to swing 5s. We'll go ahead and just do this. I think we're going to go ahead and play Uta and then another Kamadotsu. It's just set up. He's not going to 10 yet, so I'm not super concerned about. I'm not very concerned about Kuzan coming down, but now we're kind of wide, so then we should be able to apply pressure this following turn. And he's kind of running out of cards, so we can start just swinging like 5 or 6k, and eventually start giving me cards as well. And if I see Yamato or Karkuri, ooh, Luffy, he's gonna swing. Go ahead and do this. Use action, protect, and then do I have a 2k? I don't. I will give up. Oh, switch this. I'll give up this and a babes. It doesn't have a lot of cards. I kind of just want to like try and get rid of as many cards as possible. I think this sounds just a little bit worse. So depending what happens on this turn, I just kind of want to out as many cards as possible. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we're gonna take all his cards. We're a slow deck, so like we just want to take all his cards, and then if he lets this die, then we play Crocodile. Crocodile goes back alive, swing 6 on this one. Because if you let this die, then you gotta let this die at 6. it's like 6, 6, 6. Took all his cards, even more, maybe another 6, and then play like a walk or something. So that's how that's gonna go. Try and get another game in, see if we can get something slightly more meta, but like, and that's kind of where the Comanzo kind of fits in. This matchup, it's hard, but I don't know if I want to go first or second. I don't think we're gonna make it to the top end, but I think a lot of our good cards are going second. I think it's really important that we get the 2-drop. We didn't get the 2-drop, so we'll see how this goes. This is probably just one of the hard matchups that the deck can have. Are we slash? We are not slash. Pass, mostly because we're a 4 life leader, and this is what Zoro does. Zoro kind of abuses the 4 life leaders. We're gonna go ahead and counter out of this one. Yep. But this is just what Zoro does. It's kind of just gonna take advantage of the fact that we can't. There's not a lot of things we can do to kind of counter it. There just isn't enough counter power in the deck to deal with the onslaught. I'm gonna go ahead and protect one more time, just because I don't think he's not tapping. He's gonna play Marco, and then from here we're gonna have to protect ourselves a little bit more. So I will play. I think I'm just gonna swing 7 first with Comanzo. You could argue that I should have got down the Capone, because right now we're just going to need bodies. But I'm going to see if... My plan right now is to take a couple hits. Arrow. I'm going to take that hit. This is 5, 6, 7. 7, 7, 6, 8. So if I go with these 2, then that's 4, and then this is 3, and then he can only swing with this. So gonna go ahead and get the Hell's Judgment value on these 2. I think that is the best way to avoid getting. I think that puts it to where he can either swing 8 or swing 7. He swings 9. We take that one, I think. This is where I would want to do cleanup, but I feel like I'm getting pressured so much that. But he just does it again next turn. So I'm going to run 8. I don't think Katakuri is good in this situation. I think it's gonna have to be Mr. 4. So I think what we'll do is that's 5, 2, Mr. 4. So we want to leave 1 up, so 7, 2. So I'll go just make this 7. This is where this kill the buggy for sure. This kills the monkey now, and then we'll play the Mr. 4. And this matchup, just like I said when I was talking before, I think this is just one of those matchups that's like really hard for the deck. It's just hard for the deck to deal with. There's no removal, so it doesn't have like there's no removal, and there's not a lot of good options that get the deck on the board early. Like nothing's super cheap, so. And because nothing's cheap, you can't, like, if I don't see the 2-drop, then the game gets kind of hard. The game gets kind of hard because now I can't contest the cards really well. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of want to do that, but it loses to Marco, so I think I just have to let it die. As long as we don't take one more, I think we'll be okay because we can gain a life back. This is the unfortunate part of the deck. Like, essentially now I don't have a lot of counter power, so there's a highly likelihood that I just die on the follow-up. So I think what we have to do is threaten game, which could get a card. And I think it's the only way. I think we have to try and force him to go for game. We have 8 to 13, so there's like a world where we can bait him, but there's just so many non-counters in the deck. I just don't think there's a lot you can do. I think you just have to counter this one. And then he swings 7, and then as long as he has a rusher, he wins. Because then it's 6, 7. I mean, there's a world where I see the 2K before, so if he does that, I see the 2K before, then there's a chance I don't die. Or 6, 11, 12. No, you just gotta do it. And then if he has rush Luffy, you lose. Or Marco. There's like a world where like I should have. You would want to go for game, but I don't think that wins a lot of the time. I think the only way to win it would be to, because putting up 2 blockers you still lose unless you clear 2. So I think the only way to, no, there's no way to give yourself a chance. Nah. Yeah. But this is why the deck probably can't be a meta contender. Even though a lot of throw will be in and out of the meta more than likely, there's just nothing the deck can really do to beat it. Like, there's nothing the deck can do to like beat the fact that it's just too fast, too much top end. So yeah, and just for those 2 games, I think the second game kind of shows you why this deck probably can't be a meta contender, and then the first game shows you like they like against. It's probably not the worst deck ever, but it's probably like it's just too slow. Like it doesn't have the removal to be able. It doesn't have the early removal to be able to compete with like the decks that can play 2 minions a turn, or any deck that can like fit 2 minions. It doesn't have enough removal to say, okay, cool, like I'm applying. It doesn't have and it can't apply enough pressure in order to make those decks have to swing into other minions. Like the Zoro matchup kind of showed, like he didn't have to care at all about the 4-drop or anything. He just was able to go, okay, cool, I'm going to swing. I'm going to go as fast as possible, because even if I top in and play Crocodile or Katakuri, it doesn't matter. He's still gonna have 4 minions that he's swinging with. Or Yamato's still too slow because she only deals with 1 minion. And so I think the biggest problem when we were building the deck is that we couldn't find early removal inside of the deck. That's kind of why I kept in Uta, because she costs 2 cards essentially, but because she's able to like block, maybe protect her, you're able to like clear that card off, then that might be an option. But because another event has removal, I think that's one of the biggest flaws that the deck has. But there probably is some matchup out there, probably a little bit of slower, and it's probably like more Rebecca. Probably has like a decent Rebecca matchup, just because it's kind of Rebecca sometimes has a hard time with like greedy top end, and so this can kind of probably take advantage of that aspect of it. But if they're able to apply pressure, then it probably just isn't, in my opinion, much of a meta contender. But I want to just kind of show it off. You know, we're still going through the leaders. Next up, we should have the remaining 3, the meta 3, and we'll try and give a lot more in-depth analysis as to where we think they will position in the meta, but and how we would kind of do and what we're looking at when it comes to Knoxville. So just want to say thank everybody for showing up. We've seen an increase in views lately. Please like, comment, and subscribe. We appreciate it. And if you want to leave, if you leave comments, we will get back to you. So thank you. Appreciate y'all. Take care.